Imagine having enough money to change the world, to fearlessly advocate for your beliefs, and to live in one of the country's most elegant estates. This is the story of Longue Vue in New Orleans. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. In 1886, Edgar Bloom Stern was born into a prosperous New Orleans family. His father, Maurice Stern, had immigrated from Germany and made a fortune in the cotton trade. Thanks to this affluence, young Edgar enjoyed a privileged upbringing and an excellent education, attending Tulane University and then Harvard, where he earned his undergraduate and master's degrees by 1908. Meanwhile, his future wife Edith Rosenwald, born in 1895 in Chicago, was likewise heir to great wealth. She was the daughter of Julius Rosenwald, the part owner and later president of Sears, Roebuck and Company, one of America's first retail giants. She was raised in an atmosphere of noblesse oblige and social responsibility, shaped in part by her father's friendship with educator Booker T. Washington, inspiring her lifelong commitment to charitable causes. Fate brought these two heirs together in the early 1920s, and they married in 1921. As a newlywed couple, Edith moved to Edgar's hometown of New Orleans, bringing her considerable resources and progressive outlook to the Crescent City. The Sterns soon purchased 8 acres of undeveloped land on the outskirts of town. They called their new homestead Longue Vue, a name inspired by an inn overlooking the Hudson River where they had courted during their engagement. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, Edgar and Edith Stern established themselves as leading figures in New Orleans business and civic life. Edgar entered the family cotton business and quickly made his mark, serving as president of the New Orleans Cotton Exchange by the late 1920s. Meanwhile, Edith applied her inherited wealth and personal drive to philanthropic endeavors. In 1926, she founded the city's first nursery school, the Newcomb College Nursery at Tulane, pioneering early childhood education in the region. During the 1930s, the couple played a key role in creating Dillard University, a historically black college formed through a merger that Edgar helped finance and guide as a trustee. The Sterns' influence extended into social causes and the arts. Edith in particular was known for championing civil rights ahead of her time. She supported African American voter registration drives in the segregated South and funded public interest initiatives that many of her peers shied away from. By the late 1930s, Edgar and Edith Stern had firmly established themselves as a power couple. Wealthy, well-connected, civic-minded, and eager to use their fortune for the public good. This blend of means and mission set the stage for the creation of a home that would reflect their stature and values. They envisioned a residence that could accommodate their active social life, showcase their art and antique collections, and harmonize with the natural beauty they loved. Transforming Longue Vue from a comfortable first home into a grand statement was an ambitious undertaking that unfolded over the late 1930s. The Sterns' vision was to unite house and garden into a seamless whole, drawing on design ideas from both classical European estates and the local Louisiana landscape. To achieve this, Edith and Edgar embarked on a unique collaboration with two designers they deeply trusted. For the landscape, they had already been working with Ellen Biddle Shipman, a pioneering landscape architect renowned for her elegant garden designs. Shipman had begun crafting extensive gardens at Longue Vue, laying out features like a charming goldfish pond and a formal pan garden on the grounds. As the Sterns contemplated a new house, they asked Shipman to take on the interior design as well, a rare role for a landscape designer, but one that spoke to their confidence in her artistic eye. Knowing she was not a licensed architect, Shipman recommended bringing in architects William and Geoffrey Platt, sons of the famous architect Charles Platt, who had been Shipman's mentor. The Sterns agreed, thus forming a dream team. Shipman would shape the landscape and interiors, while the Platt brothers would design the new house. Construction of the new Longue Vue house began in 1939 and continued for 3 years, with the finishing touches completed in 1942. Remarkably, the Sterns' original 1920s house was not demolished, but was carefully moved off to a neighboring lot on Garden Lane, where it was reassembled and used as the family's residence while the new home rose in its place. If the outside of Longue Vue exudes classical elegance, the interiors are no less impressive, combining old-world refinement with modern 20th century comfort. The Sterns wanted their new home to feel stately enough for formal entertaining, but also warm and practical for everyday living. They brought with them an extensive collection of antiques, art, and furniture, much of it acquired in the 1930s when the art market was depressed, a fact that reportedly made Edith feel guilt at being able to buy treasures when others had to sell. Guided by Shipman's interior design, the rooms were tailored to highlight these beloved pieces. For instance, the library on the first floor was paneled in 18th century carved wood from an English manor house, which the Stearns salvaged from their previous home and integrated here. This rich, honey-colored Norwegian spruce paneling, complete with a mantelpiece topped by classical columns and a broken pediment, gives the library an atmosphere of an Old English study. Across the hall, the drawing room was designed as Longue Vue's grand central living salon. Overlooking the main garden, this expansive room has French doors with transoms that open to a gracious brick porch and a pair of elegant curved staircases descending to the lawn. The focal point of the drawing room is the historic mantelpiece carved around 1800 known as the George Washington Memorial Mantel, which Shipman famously found in a barn in South Carolina and brought to Longue Vue. It was in this splendid drawing room that the Stearns would host countless gatherings, from musical recitals to cocktail parties, surrounded by fine art, antiques, and the gentle views of the fountains outside. The dining room at Longue Vue is another showcase of the Stearns' elegant yet eclectic taste. Shipman and the Pratt brothers gave this room a Georgian flair with a Chinese twist, reflecting the couple's appreciation for chinoiserie design. Around the cornice runs intricate plaster molding, concealing air conditioning vents behind its rich detail. The walls were originally adorned with hand-painted Chinese rice paper panels that Shipman contributed from her own New York home, a perfect complement to the room's carved woodwork and its style of English Georgian chinoiserie. Beyond the formal entertaining rooms, Longue Vue's design paid special attention to family comfort and personal hobbies. The Stearns had 3 children, so Shipman devised a cheerful children's living room on the ground floor, known as the Blue Room. As its nickname implies, this informal sitting room was paneled in a deep Wedgwood blue and furnished with sunny yellow chintz fabrics in a Louis XV revival pattern. Here the young Stearns could listen to the radio or play games together. Longue Vue also contained a ladies' reception room off the main hall for the ladies to withdraw to, complete with a delicate plaster ceiling, an Adams-style mantel, and its own adjoining powder room for comfort. Every detail was considered to make entertaining at Longue Vue both graceful and convenient. For all its classical beauty, Longue Vue was in many ways a state-of-the-art 20th century home hidden in the trappings of a bygone era. Behind the scenes, the house featured modern engineering that was highly unusual in residential construction at the time. It was one of the first private homes in New Orleans to have a fully integrated central air conditioning system, a welcome relief in the Louisiana heat. The architects cleverly disguised the air vents within decorative plaster crown moldings and cornices so as to not disturb the historical aesthetics. Longue Vue also boasted a full basement, a rarity in the city's low-lying geography. Throughout the mansion, elements like hidden steel framing, pocket doors with ornate wrought iron grills, and custom electrical fixtures were integrated into the design, marrying old-fashioned craftsmanship with modern convenience. The overall effect was a home that felt comfortably traditional on the surface, but functioned with all the ease and innovation the mid-20th century could offer. Life at Longue Vue during the 1940s and 1950s saw Edgar and Edith Stearns continuing their pattern of community leadership and cultural living. The couple frequently opened their home for charitable events, strategy meetings for their causes they supported, and high society soirees. However, by the end of the 1950s, the Stearns faced personal changes. Edgar passed away in 1959 at the age of 73, and as Edith grew older, she began planning for the future of Longue Vue. With her children grown and having families of their own, she turned her thoughts to preserving the estate and its gardens beyond her lifetime. In 1968, she took an initial step by opening Longue Vue's magnificent gardens to the public for the first time. She wanted the people of New Orleans to enjoy the beauty that she and Shipman had created, and the grounds became a community resource for education and leisure. Then, in 1977, Edith made a bold and forward-thinking decision. She arranged to bequeath Longue Vue House and Gardens to the city of New Orleans as a museum for everyone's benefit. This donation was an unprecedented move at the time, essentially turning a private family mansion into a public cultural asset. By 1978, as her health began to fail, she even moved out of Longue Vue and into a suite at a hotel downtown, specifically to facilitate the conversion of her home into a museum. She passed away in 1980. Fittingly, 1980 was also the year that Longue Vue House and Gardens officially opened its doors to the public as a museum, fulfilling the Stearns' vision of sharing their creation with the community. Since then, Longview House and Gardens has continued to thrive as a multifaceted cultural resource. It offers guided tours of the impeccably furnished house, allowing visitors to step back into the 1940s lifestyle of a prominent New Orleans family, and the gardens are maintained in peak condition year-round. It remains a lovingly maintained estate, a long view into the past that still speaks to the present and future of New Orleans. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about Longview? Let me know down below in the comments section. My goal for this year is to reach 1 million subscribers. If you are among the 1 to 2 million monthly viewers of this channel who are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and let's reach this goal together. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time on This House.